everybody, and welcome to Coffee Chat. Jeannie and I decided that we are going to have a series called the High Vibe Sisterhood. These women have come to our retreats, and we actually witnessed you at work. There was Miss Anna, who couldn't get out of bed. She was in so much pain, and all four of you worked on her, and there she was, going to the river, enjoying the rest of the retreat. So I've actually seen you at work. Marti, Reverend Marti, tell us about your journey. I didn't know that you were a reverend until I did your email today.
Yeah. I don't have a church. My church is where I am, not made out of brick and mortar. It's right here in my heart. So my church goes with me wherever I am. I, at 35 was, hit hard with, my whole life changed. Had a physical issue come up out of nowhere. And, after they were doing tests, they scarred my spinal cord, and I was unable to sit, walk, or stand on my own for a very long time.
Oh my goodness.
For many years, I was not totally housebound, but basically down until something came up I had to do, did that, then down again, kind of existence. And that wasn't how I lived my life before. Well, after, as Spirit always does, sent me to the right and perfect person. Actually, my assistant had set up an appointment to see a chiropractor for me. And I'd already tried all that, and I thought a chiropractor was a chiropractor. But anyway, so one day I think I'm taking her to the chiropractor's office for migraine. She had terrible headaches, and the appointment was for me. To say I was a little upset is mild. And so he had this chiropractic assistant, Kathy Mayer at the time, and she's trying to get my input information, and I'm upset. I felt manipulated, and I'm going, if it wasn't snowing outside, I'd be walking my ass back to the office. I mean, I was upset. And over time, because it did make a huge difference, so I was very thankful for her to getting me to this place. But besides getting wonderful chiropractic care there and getting me back where I could walk easier and use my arms and stuff like that, I became very good friends with Kathy. And she was actually dating the man at the time, the chiropractor at the time. And she came over one day upset, and his thing was, well, you're not the doctor. Well, at 35, they had a disagreement. And so she decided she was going to become a doctor, and she lived with us while she was doing that. Well, we're sisters now. It's been, I'm almost 72. So it's been a long relationship with us. We've been through a lot together. And she's also been my way shower, because I got all this wonderful alternative health stuff. And, she knew people while they were doing a new treatment. Oh, Marti will try it. So I was her guinea patient for years. She tells her clients at her chiropractic clinic now that most everything she learned was learned on my body, because she was learning, and so was I. I was blessed during that time, before she was married, if she went to a chiropractic convention, she didn't want to go by herself, so she'd take me. And many of the times I got to sit in on classes. So I wanted to find something that I could do to give back, because I had been blessed with so much, far beyond my budget. And so everything I do on a love offering basis for that reason. A way to give back, to pay it forward kind of thing. And so I tried a few of the different techniques she had done, and, it was a weird position, or I learned good stuff on it, but it was hard for me to do. Then I had done several other modalities, and what I found with Reiki, I guess that's why I stuck with Reiki, and because you can add anything to that, or I do anyway. So different techniques I've learned, and all the different modalities I've studied, shamanism and matrix energetics and Jinshin Jitsu, Access and Shy, which are just basically different kinds of Reiki. And so it just becomes what I do. When I took my first big course, I was on Jinshin Jitsu. And I liked it, but it was very like right hand here, left hand here, you know, by the book. Now, part of that might have been my thinking because I came from corporate America, and that was the first thing I studied. So I have charts. I have a whole manual of this Jinshin Jitsu.
Wait, so you just went on mute. Something happened. Are you on mute? Oh no. Your sound just went out. Okay. I can't hear you anymore. Oh, there you go. Okay. Now try. Okay, now try again. Take the mic. Yeah. Talk.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, no. Okay. I'll edit that. I'll edit that out. Okay.
Oh, I just got a message that said internet connection had a bleep. So that's probably what happened.
Oh, okay. So just start with that Jiu-Jitsu, whatever you were talking about.
Oh, Jinshin Jitsu. Okay. Well, so I get a call from Kathy one day from her clinic because she did go on to become a doctor. And she had a patient that was at the end of her journey with cancer. And Kathy had done all she could do. And so she asked if I could just come up and, you know, run some energy on her. Well, they were there at the clinic. So I jump in the car and I'm about halfway there and realize I don't have my book with all my hand placements, my book. So I was freaked out. So I took a little moment to have a God talk and I went, okay, I've done the studying, but you're going to have to be in charge of this. I want to help this woman, but I don't have my book. So big learning experience. It was such a powerful experience. And I went, okay, God's in charge. I don't have to all this stuff. And so about that same time, Reiki came along and I went, yes, it's more spirit driven. It's not linear. It's, you know, it's energy all around us. And so that was a huge lesson for me in doing that I didn't need that book. So I've tons of books, tons of different modalities over the last 35 plus years. And I lost my train of thought, Jean.
What happened when you got to, what was the experience you had when you got to the office with this patient?
Wow. She was a lovely woman, wasn't much, she was so thin. But I started working on her, and first she started crying, and that kind of, I was new at this, so it kind of freaked me out a little bit. But when you do this kind of work, you know, you got to allow it to process. And so I've had people start laughing hysterically, and I've had people break down in tears. So, you know, everybody has their thing. But she was at such peace. And there was a lot of anxiety when I first started working on her. And then I was working on her heart, and it almost felt like something popped in her heart. And her face lit up and her eyes looked brighter. And she said she had a wonderful experience. What she experienced wasn't actually what was happening in the room, but in her mind, it was, she heard angels. She felt relief. She felt peace. She felt comfort. And that was my turnaround. I went, wow, this is what I want to do. So
to me that you eliminated her fear.
Yes.
That you took her into the God place from the
God place. Yes, yes. And I had another friend call me to the hospital. His ex-sister-in-law was in her last days. And there's some of these modalities that I have studied go, well, you can't do it on, you know, someone that's dying, because what if, you know, you did something and they didn't die when they were supposed to? Well, I think the energy is powerful. And we know the power, where the power comes from. It is not us that does it, but God working through us. But I lost it again. Where's I going with that? Oh, I went in and to the room, and she was, ICU room with all the machines and very sterile, cold place. And I did a treatment on her, and I felt her body just relax and get more and more relaxed.
This is the same woman?
This is the woman that I went to the hospital, and she was at the end of stage.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you had one woman where you went to the...
Yes, and she ended up passing, but she was at peace. And that anxiety about it, the fear was gone. And then when I went to visit this friend and called me, will you do this? And he said, I talked to someone and they said, no, you shouldn't do that if they're about to go. Well, I think God knows better than me, and they're going to die right when they're supposed to. I'm not going to interfere with that,
Exactly.
But when I left, she was asleep and very calm. And when I got a call from my friend that had asked me to go up there, and he goes, you won't believe the experience she had. She saw candles all over the room. In my head, when I was working on her, I was singing Amazing Grace in my head. She heard angels singing Amazing Grace. She had all this light in the room, and he just went on and on. And I was just amazed that from that cold hospital room that she could get that experience even in that environment. So when I teach classes, I say, you're going to hear, don't do it on someone that's dying, but I'm telling you, you're missing out. I have helped many people through that process since then.
Isn't that beautiful?
It can be a beautiful thing. There have been times in my life where I thought maybe we should cry when they're born and celebrate when they're gone. This can be a tough place to be.
Oh, yeah.
And we're bombarded all the time with negativity and situations that are out of our control that we're very familiar with at this time.
My daughter had an out-of-body experience, and I can't remember exactly what it was. It was a famous case where this man in California had killed his wife who was pregnant. Scott Peterson, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, when he got the death sentence, my daughter looked at me. She said, that's not a punishment. That's a gift.
Exactly.
Because the transition into heaven is this, which she experienced. She was pretty much clinically dead. She was being kept alive with life support, which is a whole nother story. But she witnessed the other side, and the bliss and the feeling and the love, the immense love that she can't even describe to this day. This immense, immense love. But there's a lot of fear of death. And so that is a beautiful place. And it's not just for you. It's everybody who witnessed. I mean, it's not just for the patient, but what it did for you in your spirituality, the person who called you in for his spirituality, and telling the story now for everybody's spirituality, understanding that there is no fear in death, that death is really just a rebirth.
Exactly. It's a blessing. And I agree with your daughter. Putting to death is really kind, because they should have to live with what they did.
Exactly.
Even though we pay their rent while they're doing that, but still.
I just want a big old spaceship to come down and suck up all the bad people, take them to another planet, and where
they can be miserable together.
They can have wars, do all that stuff that they want to do over there, and leave us that want just peace, harmony, and love, and live in that environment.
Live in the light.
And leave us alone. Just go away. Because we're learning, Marti, that we have been controlled by fear for thousands of years.
Yes. It's a wonderful tool. Very effective.
It's
not healthy.
Powerful. Fear is powerful, 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 but love is even more powerful and trumps fear every single time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With all the fear in our world today, I'm not worried about a virus. I am worried about the people staying in that constant state of fear.
Yes.
You'll get stuck in that fight or flight, and you can't be healthy like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, this has gone on for years now, yes. And people need to realize that God is in this too. It doesn't look like it sometimes, but God is in this too, and it's all unfolding according to a divine plan. And we don't have all the big picture like Spirit does. So the most important thing for those of us who love living in the light is to live that light, and people will be attracted, and the people that aren't, you don't want to be attracted to. So
well, I think it's important to expand past our own environment, past our own 3D world, and understand that there's a vast universe out there. It reminds me of a conversation I had with someone that I dearly love. And we were talking about God, and this person was saying, well, I'm an atheist. I'm a scientist. There's no God. No, that's science. I'm a scientist, so there's no God. And when something like that, when I'm engaged in a conversation like that, a lot of times I'll have a beautiful experience because I instantly said, tell me, speak through me what this person needs to hear.
Exactly.
Speak through me. So I said, would you agree that, well, first of all, I said, why do you believe that? Why do you believe that there's no God? And this person said, how can God give cancer to a brand new 3-month-old baby?
He doesn't.
And I said, okay. Because something like that I see as a sacrificial lamb. That there are stories like that that teach us of our spirituality, in this case, this little baby. And I said, would you agree that there's other universes, solar systems besides this one? I said, of course, it's proven scientifically.
Science.
Science, of course we know. Okay. Do you think that possibly one of those solar systems, there's other planets with like human type people on it? Sure, I can see that. Maybe even a planet where there's no illness, no pain, no war, no discomfort. Everybody is living in harmony. There's plenty of food. There's plenty of shelter. People are playing in the forest, in the oceans, in the lakes, and the rivers, and they're all clean. Do you think that maybe there could be a planet like that? But, yeah, I can see that. But you didn't pick that planet. You picked this one.
Yeah, good point. We all make our contracts.
This is the land of contrast.
You wouldn't know one without the other. You can't know good without knowing what bad is, or up without down.
You don't know how beautiful a drink of water is until you're very, very thirsty, or how beautiful a sandwich can be unless you're really, really hungry. Mm-hmm. Right? And so on and so on and so on. You know, sometimes when we hurt ourselves, we don't realize how we should be grateful that parts of us isn't hurting, right? Or when we're sick and we say, oh, I'm not appreciating my health. I had to be sick to appreciate when I feel better. Exactly. Yes. Yes. We live in that planet. But in talking to people like yourself and your sisterhood, which this is a series of the High Vibe Sisterhood, there are ways that we can handle the darkness, the pain, and bring light to people who feel that the screens in your living room are actually telling you the truth, and that, and they're actually making you dependent on them and what they say instead of, and steering you away from God,
From what you know.
and what you authentically knew when you were born. You knew this. And I really believe, Marti, that life is a game of rediscovery, that you are a divine being having the human experience. You know it as a small child. Then you acclimate into the human experience and you start experiencing the word no.
Yeah.
Or you're not not good enough, comparison to others, you're better than that person but not as good as that person. I mean, that shows up in kindergarten.
Oh yeah, early on.
Yeah, in kindergarten. I've got grandchildren come home, so and so was mean to me, and I say, you need to tell them that your Nana said you're not allowed to speak to me unless you are kind. That's what you need to tell them. I'm not allowed to talk to you or hear you, anything you say, unless you are nice.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not nice, I'm not allowed to talk to you.
That's a wonderful lesson.
And it's simple.
Yeah.
But my little granddaughter, she still comes home with that. And I say, honey, why are you giving away your power?
Exactly.
Why are you giving power to somebody who doesn't deserve it? Nobody has the power to make you sad unless you give it to them.
Yes.
Right.
Do it with your permission.
Yes.
It's done, even though you may not realize you've given that permission. On the point of your friend that was a scientist and didn't believe in God, access is one of the modalities I studied. And the woman who taught me that was a NASA scientist, and she left that work to teach this. So things happen when you start playing with the universe, that make you a believer.
Absolutely. And I saw a program the other day, Marti, and it's fact or fiction, fact or fiction. What do you believe? What don't you believe? Right? And why do you believe what you believe? Because the screen in your living room told you to believe something? I mean, we know what kind of power that has been on the entire world. That little screen in your living room that told you that fear.
I call it fear porn.
Yeah, exactly. Just projecting fear.
Commercials are all about fear.
Yes.
Yeah. And I can't watch the news anymore because that's all it is fear. And we got to get people out of that fear and let them know it's safe here.
Exactly. And is it by design that the news is there right before you go to bed? And they're right when you wake up in the morning? The news?
Called programming.
All programming. Exactly. And those of us that are saying, hold the door. This isn't in divine alignment with God. This is not the God that I know. This is manufactured. And it's programming and it's sucking the soul out of humanity.
Absolutely. I agree.
Literally.
The fear has, I think we will see the effects for years to come of this time of living in fear, and the children that are growing up in fear. I saw a little boy at a flea market back when it was in the midst of it, when you could still get out, but it was a little kid in a stroller and they had a mask on. And then his little brother was walking by the stroller with a mask on, and something happened to his mask. And that kid had a meltdown, screaming, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. What have we done to our children?
Oh, no. And the list goes on and on and on and on, because the children are so easy to manipulate.
Yes.
They're so easy to manipulate. That's why those of us that hold the light, know the light, and understand what's really going on and recognize fear, we have a responsibility to the children, especially the way I reacted to my granddaughter, because it's so simple. I'm not allowed to talk to you because you're ugly to me.
Exactly.
And when my And when I have them, and I did this with my own children, if they start screaming and yelling at me, I can't hear you. I can't hear you when you're like that. I just hear this noise.
Right.
Talk to me, speak to me, and then I'll be able to hear you. But don't scream at me like that.
Exactly.
All I hear is this big noise.
I always think of what is it, Peanuts commercial, blah blah blah, that they hear.
The parents are blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
That's why, by the way, in 1987, I started a ministry called Children for a Peaceful World, or Kids for Kids. I was living in East Texas, and I was writing songs, Christian songs for children. Because I'm a big fan of Jesus. I just think Jesus is awesome. And I was writing these songs and started a ministry. We pulled children from all different churches, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Catholic, and we formed this little community, 35 kids, this Kids for Kids thing. And we would sing like at St. Jude's Hospital. We went there. We would visit the hospitals and the pediatric wards and sing for the kids in pediatric wards. We went to Shriners and sang. We sang at festivals and little churches and that type of thing. We were out in the country. And I called it Kids for Kids because children ministering to each other. I was thinking of Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
But it was children teaching children, or keeping them in that vibration of light and love and harmony. And we would meet once a week, and I would say, "What do you say when somebody's ugly to you?" And they'd all say, "You must be having a bad day." Okay, let's do that again. What do we say when somebody's ugly to you? You must be having a bad day. That was our little thing that we did all the time.
Precious.
And I would tell them, I said, because that child, whoever's being mean to you, is in pain. Somebody's being mean to them. And you need to learn how to love them anyway. You don't have to associate with them.
Right.
But don't let them make you feel bad about yourself, because they feel bad about themselves. And they're trying to get rid of that pain. And so they're saying, well, I'm hurting, so you have to hurt, or you have to hurt. This is the lesson for every human being on the planet.
Amen. Yes. Yes. Desperately. Because hurt people, and
that's how
being nasty to them back does nothing. That's just what they want. And it always stops them, and they take a breath when you put something positive in there, because they're going, wait a second, I wasn't expecting that. And it lightens them up. It's happened every time for me. My husband does the same thing. Whether it's a grumpy clerk or whatever, everybody has a bad day or a bad time, stuff going on in their life. And just why would you add to it?
Oh, I remember going into a store with a friend, and the lady who owned the store was at the cash register, and incredibly rude to us. We were asking some questions, and she was short and just very rude. And I looked at her, and I did that. I said, "Is there something wrong? Are you having a bad day?" And she said, "I just learned I have cancer."
Yeah.
And it shifted the whole conversation. We were compassionate to her. I said, "Oh my gosh." And she talked about it, right?
And she needed that.
She needed it.
That was a divine time thing.
I'll never forget that experience. So what would typically happen, so if she was rude, then what are you doing? You are drinking the same Kool-Aid that she just drank, right?
Yes.
She's going, and you're going, and you don't know the core. So whoever projects the negativity first is probably the one with the problem. And how you react, then you got your own problem.
Yeah. Your reaction's the only thing you control. You can't control other people or what they do, you know, with
No,
what
so
is
if that
done.
makes
So,
you angry because she was rude to you, you know,
yeah.
change that to compassion. To this human being must be experiencing some sort of pain for them to be so rude. And
You see that now with road rage being such a big thing. People are hurting. They're in fear. They're like, so someone pulling out in front of them is like the last straw. They can't take no more. And they desperately need
the road rage,
awakening.
or
I
someone,
mean, it's scary.
or treating the interstate as if it's NASCAR.
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
I'm winning. I'm winning. I'm winning. I'm going to win. I'm going to beat you.
Yeah. Okay. I've been out of high school a while, so don't care.
It's called traffic. Have you ever seen ants? They don't, no one's trying to rush the other. It's called traffic.
Yeah,
They all go
exactly.
at
They
the
just
same,
plug along.
they just go at the same pace. And if people would treat traffic like that instead of stop, go, we wouldn't have these congestions on the interstate. Just go with the flow. And
My favorite saying, go with the flow.
I actually wrote a song called Go with the Flow. But exactly, go. Yeah. And I'll have to bring in those songs sometime because you can actually download my music for free on my website. So I'll put a little thing in there, cynthiaproductions.com. And I'm a songwriter. I wrote Jose Cuervo. You are a friend of mine, as you know.
Yes. And you're a friend of mine.
And but I have all kinds of music to download there because music's free now. People don't pay for music anymore. So I said, I'm just going to give it away now. It's came through me. A lot of the,
Yes.
the instrumental, and that's what's important when you're an artist or a healer or anything where we experience divine energy coming through us. It's important to acknowledge that. It even got to a point, Marty, where I couldn't even say I wrote the music. I just said it came through me. You know, I can't take credit for writing the music kind of thing.
I understand that. I know I had spoken to a friend of mine, David Howard, is a minister also, and I spoke to him one day about how uncomfortable it is when, you know, someone will get off the table and they go, oh, wow, I just feel so much better. And they're thanking me and saying, you're wonderful and you're this. And I feel very uncomfortable with that. And he goes, well, what do you say? And I go, well, all I can say is thank you, God, because I just showed up. You know, I was there, and then spirit takes care of the rest. So that for me is a way to get around that uncomfortableness when they're praising me. I just need to make sure they know where that praise should go. And
Right.
always glory to God, always.
Because the ego would want to say, well, thank you. You know, that's what the
Exactly.
ego
and I didn't feel right about saying thank you.
And you don't feel right about that. No, you say, I was not alone.
Absolutely.
I was in the presence of the divine, knowing that that presence is with me in my divine self. And that combination is what did the healing, not Marty. Right.
Right.
And you understand that at a spiritual level.
Yes. I've had too many wonderful experiences not to, including, I certainly didn't expect at this time in my life that we would be setting off with my wonderful High Vibe Sisterhood group to create what we've created. And that it just seems to be growing. I know when the first retreat we were at, we were driving home and we're all just like buzzed. And I just sat there for a second and go, I don't know what happened just now, ladies, but something is happening here. Something's going to grow from this.
That happens from
and look where we are.
Well, it happens from the Bnow retreats. And Jeannie and I are just tickled when we saw that you're doing your own retreats. We're just, whoa, okay, this is what it's about. It's about networking. It's about networking that energy and seeing these branches of people, women. We've seen transformations at the Bnow retreats happen. Mm-hmm. But we're so excited about what you're doing and your work because there's a thing which I will call self-realization, that happens at these retreats where you go,
Yes.
okay, I'm more in touch with my purpose and who I am now. Okay, I get it. I want to stay in that vibe. And
Mhm.
I'm so happy that I wish I had a group of women here like you, because I love what you're doing, the High Vibe Sisterhood. I love, love, love the work that you're all doing. And I'm so grateful for you all to do this series with us for Bnow, you know.
Well, with the High Vibe Sisterhood, there's 9 of us now. We do work like Power of 8. It just kind of happened naturally for us, but we don't want to limit us to 8. It was actually at the first Bnow retreat that the 4 of us worked together on one person, and we blew our minds.
That's what somebody told us that. I think it was Rebecca. She in this series that we're doing with you right now, she said, we'd never done that before. And he got up and I said, yeah, it was kind of this Lazarus thing, you know, and out of bed and walking around, and we all went. And you did it again at the next retreat with
Lillian.
Lillian.
Yes, yes.
She came when she was having some heart issues, and I remember when she first showed up, she had these huge bags.
Right. You could tell her spirit wanted to be there, but her body was not up to the task.
No, and in fact, when she was driving to the retreat, she said she had to pull over and rest and fell asleep, and her energy level was just. And the next day, I said, "Lillian, your bags are gone."
One wants to hear that.
What happened?
I mean, she looked like a different person the next day.
She really did.
So there again, we say thank you, God, because that was what a blessing. You know, it's hard for us. It's just like with Miss Anna. You know, I knew she wasn't there, and she had been all about the party the day before. And I go, well, where's she at? She's down. Well, you know, we got to do what we can. So fortunately, the girls are like me, and I went, everybody up to this? Oh yeah, let's go do it. So whatever synergy the 4 of us have together is very powerful. And we've worked together now enough to where we don't, other than when I tone, I do seem to freak them out when I tone. I guess I had never done it around them. And where was I when I did that? Was that on you that I blew into your chest?
Yeah.
Or was that? It was you. Yeah. And all the girls, I said,
they were like this.
Hey, I'm going to tone now. And I'm thinking they knew what I was talking about because they're all, and then I tone, I look up and they look in shock. Yeah. So yeah, that we're always learning something new. And with each one of them that brings that peace. I mean, all specialized, but all those little pieces just mesh together when we're together, and we're all kind of on the same wavelength. So we can communicate really without speaking. And it's almost like we are experiencing it as one almost when we
That's
we
what
do
comes
that.
to mind. The understanding of oneness,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing it all together. Like, think of 4 candles coming together. The flame's going to be this high, you know.
Exactly.
If you
Exactly.
come together. In closing, Marti, tell us what you want people to know. People who've listened to this, what thought do you want them to take away from this?
First thing that comes to mind is you are not alone. Even if you see no one around you, you are never alone. To reach out to your support team. I have been in situations in my life where I had a huge group of friends that would have been there in a second, but pride kept me from making a phone call. So I suffered in silence till a friend and said, we're here, you know. And as women, I think it's hard for us to ask for help. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage to ask for help, listen to your heart, and don't hear anybody that speaks negative, just like you said.
I think it's important, you know, and it's important to identify victims and people who feel like they don't deserve something. Because how many of us have ever had a friend who just repeats the same story? You give them the solution, and then a week or 2 later,
It's the same thing.
The same story. I've learned, because I was an enabler. I mean, you look up enabler, there I am. I had to go to Al-Anon for it, right? Because I wanted to fix everybody who was in pain.
Right.
And you hear that they've got the same story. They don't want to let go of that story. Because why? They get attention from that story.
Exactly.
And they get people who want to help them, and they get addicted to that. So you have to protect yourself from the victim control.
Yes.
And also, people need to understand that they deserve it. That's why we don't
Absolutely.
help. You deserve it. You bring value to somebody when you ask for help. They give, you receive, and that's a beautiful, you know, my dad is big on that. He wants to pick up the check for everybody, or he'll, you know, he wants to do for everybody, and he gets funny when people want to do for him. He gets very, and I say, Daddy, don't deny them the pleasure of giving. Don't deny them. I said, you give, because that feels good. You need to let somebody else feel good for giving to you.
I had a friend teach me that, because I was one of those, oh, here, let me get it. Here, let me get it. And she goes, Marty, do you like doing that? I go, yeah. And she goes, well, I'd like to feel that way. But I had never looked at it that way.
You don't look at it that way.
Yeah, I was just being kind and
do help.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that was a big eye opener, and really made me realize how uncomfortable I was with getting. I was much more comfortable giving.
Oh, I have a friend who can't stand it. I mean, we went to lunch one time and said, I'm picking up the tab. She actually started crying when I was insisting. Yeah, no, I am. And I went, whoa, okay.
There's something else attached there, so I'm going to leave that alone.
Yeah, exactly. And she's very much such a beautiful giving soul. And when she can, you know, and she always has been, and doesn't like to ask for help. She kind of goes into hermit. And so, you know.
Yeah, familiar.
Glad you learned the lesson. It's important.
Yes.
To learn that lesson.
It's very, very. I just want everybody to know how magnificent they are. And I mean, we're women.
We all
look at all we do.
we chose this gender for a reason. Yes. I'm a woman, proud of it. And we have so much to give. We're the creative beings. We're the heart of the world. So I love you so big. Thank you so much.
I love you too. Thank you so much. It's been a complete joy.
Great. Okay. Thank you.